Hi, hello. I'm Sneezy Ferret, aka Lottie, and today we're doing some Am I the A-holes from Reddit? Why? I'm feeling really judgmental and I can't wear my headphones because I'm kind of waiting for a knock on the door. So, let's get into it. So, am I the a-hole for making my sick husband to clean up his vomit? Throwaway. My husband has been dealing with a stomach bug of some kind the last few days. Vomiting, diarrhea, nausea, etc. I've been taking care of him in the house and the kids by myself because of it, which is a lot of work with 2 under 5. Cheers. This morning, my husband wanted to try eating something, so I made him toast as requested. As he was on the couch nibbling on his breakfast, I was making our toddlers their breakfast and feeding them, when I hear him violently gagging in the other room. He'd been hanging out in the living room during this entire illness, so he had a trash can there in case he had to puke or whatever. I called out to him to remember to use it or to go to the bathroom if he thought he was going to vomit. He didn't listen and threw up all over the floor and got some on the couch. Husband then comes into where I'm feeding our kids and says he's going to go to our room so I can clean up his puke. I said absolutely not. There was no reason for him to vomit all over the floor, so he needed to take care of it. I'd been cleaning up all weekend already without complaining when he was getting sick by surprise, but he has plenty of time to prepare for this and not to make a mess. Husband is now all mad at me for not showing him a good bedside manner, so am I the a-hole? There's an update in that there which I'll read. Never expected so many comments. Feel very validated. All day my husband kept making snide comments at me about not being a good wife and anyone who cares about their loved one wouldn't punish them when they're sick, so I showed him your comments and it finally shut him up. Okay. Let's first of all start with the fact that I think you're married to an 8-year-old. He needed reminding to use the bucket. Seriously? My biggest issue with all this, though, is actually that comment there in the update where it says, snide comments at me about not being a good wife. Now, let's try turning that around. So, good wife, right? Okay, how about being a good husband and father? See, I've got a child and I'm married, and of course at times one of us has been sick and so the other has been needed to take care of our child and everything else. Here's the thing, when you're the sick one, what should be going through your head is, let's make sure that I can clean up as much of my own stuff as possible so that my spouse doesn't get sick, and maybe give it then to my child. Because a good parent doesn't want their children to get sick. It happens, but you try to avoid it. So, good wife, seriously, good wife. She seems to be doing fine. She was taking care of the house, taking care of your kids, whilst you could, feel better. And your response was, I threw up, go clean up. Seriously? Yeah, he's an a-hole, you're not. In fact, I think you deserve flowers. He should be making you breakfast and getting you flowers. Yeah, okay. So I'm being joined by a ferret because he wants huggies. No, you're not the a-hole. This is just ridiculous, and I think your husband's being childish. I'd be cleaning up my own puke, to be honest. I can't remember a time where I was where I had to rely on my husband to clean up after me because I was always quite embarrassed about it. And generally, if I'm going to be sick, I try and be sick in a bucket or a bowl or the toilet. I don't need someone to remind me to use it. Anyway, let's move on to the next story. Actually, no, let's see what the comments say. You had to remind him to vomit in the bin or bathroom. Yeah, it's what I said. The OP said not usually, but I could see him from the dining room just sitting there gagging, bent over, not reaching for his trash can. So I could see what was going to happen. Yeah, your husband's a dick. Yeah, selfish and inconsiderate. You're not the asshole. Yeah, you're not. He should have been thanking you for helping him, like, when it was a surprise. I'm sorry, but again, I've been really sick in the past. I remember one time when I had the flu, my husband had to work, so it was just me here, and I think our child was about 5 years old at the time. And I mean flu, not like a bad cold. And I remember at one point I was sat on the kitchen floor with a black bag and like everything. I was just trying to clean up everything because I'd been sick in there, trying to make her meatballs and toast, which was the best I could do at the time. And I remember at one point she wandered into me just covered in like meatball juice, like tomato sauce, where she just spilled it down. And I sighed and I cleaned it up. because I was the adult in the situation. Anyway, moving on. Okay, so Scout's gone to go and lay down somewhere else. He doesn't like mummy talking. So, next one. Am I the a-hole for correctly guessing my friend's baby's sex? Okay. On the weekend, my wife, 38 female, and I, 39 male, went to our friend's gender reveal. For background information, our friend already has 2 boys, and she told my wife that she's hoping for a girl this time. I have many thoughts on that, but we'll get to that. In the car on the way there, my wife asked me what gender I thought the baby would be. I said that given that the sex ratio at birth is about 105 boys for every 100 girls, then my guess is that the child would be a boy. My wife said that given our friends had 2 boys already, that surely there would be more chance of a girl this time. I replied that the 2 boys were not relevant to the sex of the child our friends were expecting, and that there was still about a 51% chance this child would be a boy. At the gender reveal, it was announced that the child would also be a boy. Although our friend tried to appear happy at the party, it was clear that she was disappointed that this child would not be a girl. My wife also appeared to be disappointed as well. On the drive back home, my wife got angry with me and said that I could have been more supportive and that I shouldn't have been so mathematical with my guess about the baby's sex. Edited to add, could have been more supportive referred to my guess that the child would be a boy and my reasoning for that guess. I told her that my response was perfectly reasonable to the question she asked me, and she didn't like that and stayed quiet for the rest of the drive home. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Okay, so this is a ridiculous question, not because I think that the OP is ridiculous, but because I think his wife was ridiculous. Don't ask if you don't want an answer. And it's a guess thing, and his guess had nothing to do with the actual gender of the baby. He's not some genie who wished it into his existence. That's just what happened. So, no, he's not the a-hole, but I do have a little rant to go on in regards to this being disappointed about the gender of your child. So, how about being happy that your child is healthy? Is that too much to ask? I'm not special like lots of women. I've had a miscarriage, and I remember it absolutely crushing me. Shortly afterwards, I found out that the chances of me having another child were basically nil, and the doctor wasn't very nice when he said that. In fact, what he said was, he looked at me like I shouldn't be surprised. So I was really lucky to have our child. And sorry, I just drank in a burpee. And that should be the vital and most important thing: a healthy child. Not what gender it is. When you choose to have a child, it should be a given that you don't get to pick what gender that child is. You don't get to pick what their personality is like. It's a gamble. It's throwing dice. You will never know. Get over it. The most you can ever hope for as a parent when you go to those first scans is, please, please, please let my child be healthy. That's it. That's where it ends. I don't even get that, oh, I'm so happy because it's a girl, or oh, I'm so happy that it's a boy. Can I just, I think the mother should be, oh, look, it's a human. I don't understand it. So let's have a look at the comments. So, what's that top one there? When your wife said you could have been more supportive, did she mean supportive of her and her guessing game, or more supportive of the mum-to-be who is disappointed in her child's chromosomes? Either way, not the arsehole. You answered the question you were asked in a normal way. Edit, you were effectively asked whether you think a coin flip would land on heads or tails, and answered that statistically it was slightly more likely to land heads. Your wife said because it had been heads twice before, it must have been a higher heads chance, and now you confirmed that it doesn't work that way. Yeah, I don't get it. I think some people are absolutely nuts. The wife wasn't looking for a lesson in probability or birth rate statistics. She was just trying to be positive and support her friend, and knew that she really desired a girl. What difference would it have made, though, if the husband had turned around and said, oh, maybe it'll be a girl? Because it wasn't. It's that simple. It wasn't. So they just wanted him to be wrong too? I don't understand it. Anyway, yeah. What's your... make a comment. Yeah. What's your thoughts? Moving on to the next story. Ooh, okay, so, am I the a-hole for offering condolences to my ex-husband's wife after her ex-husband passed away, even though it upset her and she had my ex tell our daughter I was out of line? Okay. I, female, share a grown daughter with my ex-husband. He has been remarried since 2017. I've always tried to maintain respectful communication with his wife, especially since we're all part of our daughter's extended family. Well done. Kudos to you. It makes things easier for your child. Brilliant. Acting like adults. Recently, her ex-husband passed away. I sent her a brief and sincere message offering my condolences. She responded politely with something like, "Thank you, that's very sweet of you," so I thought everything was fine. However, not long after, my ex-husband told our daughter that I was out of line for sending that message, and that I shouldn't reach out to them again. It was upsetting that they used our daughter to deliver that message instead of speaking to me directly. I wasn't trying to intrude or make anyone uncomfortable, I simply wanted to express kindness during a difficult time. While I understand we're not close, I thought a small gesture of sympathy was appropriate. So, am I the a-hole for offering condolences and expecting a basic level of mutual respect, even if we're not personally close? I personally don't think that there was anything wrong with what you did. You said that the relationship there was civil, so I don't think there was any chance of like a mockery or anything. Maybe that's what they thought. People do act strangely during times of mourning, and so no, I don't think you're the a-hole. Without knowing more about your relationship, which you can't explain in a couple of paragraphs, it's difficult to say, but generally no. I don't see anything wrong with what you did. So yeah, let's have a look at the comments. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. Oh, okay. I worry I might be the asshole because even though my intentions were kind, I reached out during an emotionally sensitive time and may have crossed a boundary she wasn't comfortable with. I also sent the message directly instead of checking if it would be welcome, which could be seen as overstepping. I'm questioning whether I should have just stayed silent out of respect for her space. Possibly, but again, I don't think this would make you an a-hole. I think this is just, not every mistaken action with the best intention makes you an a-hole. I don't think this makes you anything. I think this is just something. Yeah, I still don't get it. So not the asshole. Actually, I see this as a kind gesture. You meant it to be. Since you got a nice note back from your ex's wife, I suspect the real issue here is your ex is resenting your acknowledgement of his current wife feeling any grief over the passing of her ex. I didn't think about that. Likely he's miffed that this would affect her. It appears the message sent through your daughter was from him, not her. And yes, he's an a-hole for involving your daughter in this way. Yeah, if you've got something to say as an adult, you don't pass messages through your children. I hate that. I had to deal with that a lot as a child, and it puts a hell of a lot of pressure on the kid because you're basically getting the kid to manage two adults' relationship, and that's just plain wrong. I understand hatred between exes when there's been violence or something else, but otherwise, you as adults picked each other, and whatever you went through, even if like something bad happened, I'm not talking about violence again, that's something different, but that's not on your kid. Your kid should never be the go-between between its parents. In fact, divorced or not, it's just not fair. I don't think you did anything wrong. I think maybe, that the ex-husband is feeling insecure because his current wife is mourning the loss of her ex-husband. It happens. I'm kind of different. I haven't been in any relationship other than that with my husband. We met when we were teenagers, and but if one of, like, say his exes passed away and he was upset about it, I wouldn't get funny with him because people have feelings, and although relationships between people do break down, that doesn't mean that all of those feelings are gone. You can still have a lingering love for that person. Love can change and become not romantic or anything else, but we're complicated as people. So I think that possibly that commenter is correct, and it is down to the ex-husband rather than the ex's wife. So okay. Well, let's do one more. Okay. So, am I the a-hole for letting my sister hold my baby against our mother's wishes? Okay. I, 29 male, have a newborn baby. My 9-year-old sister, whom we'll call Kylie for privacy purposes, has been so excited to be an aunt for the first time. Aww. Kylie has a physical disability and she struggles with fine motor tasks and has a slight tremor in her hands when holding objects. Because of this, our mother stated that she did not want Kylie to hold the baby ever. She kept saying how Kay's hands can't be trusted and that it would be best if she just looked at the baby. But Kay was so excited to meet her new niece that I decided it was worth trying. With some assistance from me, she was able to hold her without issue. When our mother saw it happening, she was not happy. She said that it was irresponsible of me and repeated that Kylie's hands can't be trusted around the baby. She started talking about how when she says no as a parent, I need to respect that. Am I the a-hole for letting my sister hold my baby against her? No, you're not the a-hole. So first of all, it's your child, not your mother's, and I think you might need to make that boundary very clear. Secondly, your 9-year-old sister is, she has a disability that doesn't make her not human, and the fact that she was really, really excited about being an aunt is brilliant. I remember holding my my nephew for the first time. It's my husband's brother and my sister-in-law, and it was a wonderful moment. You know, that first meeting of a new member of the family it's beautiful. Now, there is a very large age difference between me and my younger sister. Now, when I gave birth to my child, she was, I think, 5 years old at the time. So she didn't have a physical disability. She was just very young, and I let her hold her. Do you know what I did? I sat her on a sofa, and we put a pillow either side of her, and we put the baby on her lap. Me and my husband sat either side of her to help her out. We were both there, and the baby was perfectly safe, and it allowed her to feel involved. And children can sometimes act really badly when a new baby is introduced to the family. The fact that your 9-year-old sister was so excited about it and you were just trying to involve her, your mother is out of line. She just is. I know it's difficult because, you know, going against not just your mother's wishes but her mother's wishes. I just don't get the big deal. Just, pillow. Make sure everything's all right. Make sure she's not standing up. Because you don't give a newborn baby to someone who's uneasy when they're stood up. Just get them to sit down. Be there. So what are the comments? OP has offered a following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. The action I took could be judged because my mother knows Kay's health better than I ever would. And I undermined her parenting decision in front of her own child and just let her do what she wanted. That's true, but no. A comment. Yeah, there we go. Right, so not the a-hole. It's your baby. You can decide who holds your baby. It's not your mother's baby. If you trust your sister to be physically able to do this, or to have Kylie sit down and maybe have a sling on or something, that's your call. The OP. We did hand over hand style, so she got to have that feeling of holding the baby, but I was there to keep the baby steady and take over when it got to be too much. She was so excited. Aww. Sorry, I just read the first line of this next comment, so I want to read this. Not the a-hole. Your mother seems excessively focused on what Kylie can't do, rather than what she can, or what assistance she might need in order to do it. Yeah, all you're going to do is just make that 9-year-old, so Kylie, as you're calling her, feel inadequate and really not the same as everyone else. You're just going to, if you have not let her hold the baby, she would have felt, insignificant and better to hurt an adult's feelings than a child. It wasn't like, you were giving the 9-year-old something dangerous. You were there. You would. I hate it. I really, really do. You did the right thing. You aren't just a good father, you're a good brother who was trying to nurture that relationship between an aunt and her niece or nephew. Congratulations to you. Well done. So I'm going to leave this video here. It's a new thing for me to do. I don't usually do this. Hopefully you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it, or at least getting ranty. So leave a comment, a like, and if you really want to subscribe, I'd appreciate it. We're a tiny channel. Do it or my ferrets will steal all your socks.